I think one of my favorite things about the tale of Princess Kaguya is that it's a movie that really demands your attention. Lovingly created in a jaw-droppingly gorgeous, hand-drawn style meant to invoke the Sumi-e watercolor paintings, Kaguya serves as an adaptation of the Japanese folk story, called The Tale of the Bamboo Cutter. The visuals allow it to stand out among the rest of the Ghibli catalog in the best possible way, sure, but combining it with this raw coming-of-age story is the real trick. And it's what makes Princess Kaguya quite possibly the studio's crowning achievement. Even if the Oscars that year did not agree, as Kaguya lost to Big Hero 6, in a year that also had How to Train Your Dragon 2. Not to say they picked the wrong one, but yeah, they did, and I will take this as a personal attack. But I digress, because what I really want to talk to you about today are the themes and overarching messages present in this masterclass of storytelling. Because I promise you, there's a lot going on beneath the surface. So I don't really know where to start, so I just will, with this little snippet that crossed my mind once more while watching. Although the name of this movie is obviously Princess Kaguya, the original story that it's adapting is actually named after her father, the titular bamboo cutter. And I think that this original name reminds us that Kaguya herself was not really the one in control of her own story. Although she's the main character, she has very little agency in her life. Instead, her father is the one who makes the life-changing decision to turn her into a real princess, despite her objections. And from there on, she's constantly surrounded by people telling her how she must behave and look. She's not even allowed to attend her own party or invite her friends to it, who, by the way, were unceremoniously forced out of her life, again due to her father's wishes. The only choice she's really given is which fine noblemen to marry, and although she sends them all on wild goose chases, she's still not really allowed to reject them outright. And that's to say nothing of how the Emperor forced himself on her, or how she couldn't even choose to remain on Earth at the end of the story. It's not really a cautionary tale for young girls or moon aliens, it's a blueprint for parents on how not to raise their child. To strip a kid of all their agency in life is akin to killing their spirit and all their sense of individuality that makes them who they are. And nothing is worth that, not even the will of the gods or all the money in the world. Which leads us right into our first theme, the dangers of putting too much value in wealth and social status. Even though Kaguya is much happier living the simple life on a farm with her friends under the name Little Bamboo, her father forces her to move and become a real princess, because he assumes that's the best life for her. Society says that it is better to live in a big house with lots of servants than it is to live as a farmer, so it must be true, even when Kaguya's miserable in her new life. But as Kaguya tells Seimaru at the end of the movie, she would have been much better off if she had kept living on the farm. She would have much rather married him for love rather than marrying one of the councilmen to cement her status as a member of high society. That was my rich person voice. It needs some work. Anyway, this is reinforced by the fact that while Seimaru and Kaguya's mother are the nicest people we meet, every respected member of the nobility is the absolute worst. The person who's supposed to train her to be a princess doesn't care about her feelings or happiness in the slightest. The princes see her as an object and then try and lie to obtain her. And on top of that, the emperor is an entitled douchebag who assaults her. He's supposedly the pinnacle of society, and he does something so horrible. It serves as a takedown of societal structures by showing how the life of a princess really has nothing on the life of a bamboo cutter's daughter, if the latter is a life filled with love. What matters in life is your happiness, not what an arbitrary system or the douchebags in that system think of you. Live your life how you want. It's a simple message, maybe an oversimplified one, but everyone keeps telling me it's a good one, so it bears repeating. Next up, sort of similar, this story can also be interpreted as a lesson in focusing on the secular world rather than on God and the afterlife. The father is so sure that the gods, or whomever gave them the Princess Kaguya, wishes for them to use that gold to catapult Kaguya to the highest ranks of society. In doing so, however, he manages to ruin her life. All of this for him to find out that it wasn't God, but the moon's celestial beings who sent him that money. And the celestial beings are so detached from human life that they don't much care for high society, and probably only gave him that money so he could give her a comfortable life. Not so he could make her miserable by trying to make society accept her as a legitimate princess. I mean, if they wanted to make her a princess, why give her to a farmer in a stalk of bamboo? Why not just drop her off at a palace? The other possibility that comes to mind is that they did send him that money to make her a princess in an attempt to make her fully understand the deepest pain possible, to give her a full understanding of the human world and the emotions that lie within. No matter what, the father essentially threw away Kaguya's happiness for nothing, all because he was too focused on the gods to realize what was good for his own daughter. In any case, the Moon Society obviously is meant to be some sort of god or higher powers at the very least. They're called the Celestial Beings after all, according to the Ghibli wiki. And having them being associated with some kind of afterlife works well for my next theme, which I am laying down the trigger warning for, because this one deals with death and suicide pretty heavily. The moon can easily work as a kind of death for Kaguya, as when she returns there, her memory is wiped and her emotions are gone. She's basically left a soulless husk of herself. This is supported by the fact that her father does try to protect her as if the celestial beings are coming to kill her by raising an army to fight them. And since Kaguya is technically the one who summons the moon people to take her away, even though she immediately regrets it after, this can be seen as an act of suicide. When Kaguya is taken away to the moon, she is devastated, not because she had a good life overall, she was miserable for most of it, but because she had experienced brief moments of happiness. Playing in the garden with her mother or in the woods as a kid taught her that the pain of living is worth it in the end for those flashes of happiness. And more than that, she understands that to feel nothing at all in death is a much worse fate, as she fights to remain in her sad life rather than return to the moon. Princess Kaguya tells us that to feel something, even if it is mostly pain, is better than to be numb. I don't know. Maybe it's obvious that I've had a really happy life, but I would say that our emotions are some of the most beautiful, precious gifts that we have received as humans, and their power over us is really what makes life interesting. We wouldn't have joy without pain, or love without heartbreak, at least not to their full extents. So a death that robs you of all of those emotions is not something I or Princess Kaguya are wanting to rush towards. And although Kaguya does want to live her life, or at least her emotional life on Earth, it's taken away from her during one split second during an extremely terrible time. I don't mean at all to minimize how horrible it was for her to be sexually assaulted by the Emperor, but even she agrees that she still wants to stay on Earth after. The pain and the joy and the hope for a better tomorrow are much better than the ends that death provides. This film tells us that no matter how awful you feel, remember that death isn't an escape from how you're feeling, it's just a full stop from every feeling, and every piece of potential happiness for the future. Taking a hard right turn out of that theme, I want to talk about names now. They play a pretty important part in the story, as Kaguya herself goes by 3 names throughout the course of the movie, with each of them having their own deeper meaning. Princess is the name given to her by her parents, as they believed it was what she was destined to become by the gods above. It symbolizes the life she was forced into unwillingly, and how it really started at birth for her. Then there is the name Little Bamboo, given to her by her childhood friends while she still lived on the farm. It's meant to represent who Kaguya truly is, or who she would have chosen to be if she wasn't forced to live the life of a princess. It's what Seimaru calls her when they meet as adults and talk about how much better her life would have been if she had gone to follow her desires, which really just drives the point home. Rather than the high and mighty princess, she is simply a piece of regular old bamboo, and a little one at that, acknowledging her simple roots. There's a scene early on in the movie where all the children try to call little baby Kaguya to them by shouting Little Bamboo, while her father does the same by shouting Princess. She chooses her father, which serves as a pretty apt metaphor for the path she followed in life. Even if she didn't have much of a choice, she still chose the life her father picked out for her, at least on some level. Then there is finally Princess Kaguya, given to her by a wise old man who tried to capture the essence of her free spirit with his choice. It serves as a marriage of Little Bamboo and Princess, and it symbolizes Kaguya herself in this way because she too is trying to balance the part of herself that wants to be free and the burden of royalty that was placed on her by her parents. Names are honestly just so fascinating to me. They can capture us really well. Princess Kaguya is probably Ghibli's best film. It's not the one I enjoy the most, and I still haven't seen My Neighbor the Yamada's, Earwig and the Witch, and Spirited Away. It's on my list. I'm sorry. It's the next one. But if I had to pick a movie of theirs to win an award just based on like a technical level, like an Oscar, this is it. It's truly rare to see a movie with this much love and care put into it, and it serves as a reminder that Ghibli truly does put their story first. They care frighteningly little about money in a way that makes me kind of scared for them, but it's impossible to say it's not worth it for this absolute gem. A true work of art, with so many layers of it, befitting a princess. Thank you.